Hi and welcome to another Grumpy video. Today I've got another book recommended to me by one of the librarians, plus a stack of other books that I picked up for myself while I was there. So I'm going to start with the book that's been recommended, but I don't actually have a physical copy of this book because they didn't have it in that library, so they've had to order it from a different one. But she did give me a printout, and this is the printout, I don't know if you can see it. But apparently the book is called Gilded Cage and it's by a woman called Vic James. And the description that it's got there says, Britain's magically skilled aristocracy compels all commoners to serve them for 10 years, and now it's the Hadley's turn. Abby Hadley is assigned to England's most ruthless noble family. The secrets she uncovered could win her freedom or break her heart. Her brother Luke is enslaved in a brutal factory town where new friends' ideals may cost him everything. Then, while the elite vie for power, a young aristocrat plots to remake the world with his dark gifts. As Britain moves from anger to defence, all three must take sides, and the consequences of their choices will change everything forever. So yeah, it sounds sort of dystopian-ish. It's different, definitely. I don't think I've read one like this, although I have seen a book with a similar idea, I think, but in that one, there was a book series where there were surrogates, I think, and poor people could surrogate for rich people who couldn't have kids or something like that, and that one sounded quite interesting too. I haven't read that series either, but this one did sound interesting. I liked the little bit of blurb that they put there about the author apparently got started on a website, Wattpad, I think it is. I have heard of that. I think some of my friends' kids go on it. I haven't used it myself. But yeah, so this one sounds quite interesting, so I'm looking forward to getting that one and seeing if it's as good as the other one that she recommended to me. So apart from that book, I also picked up a few books that I thought sounded interesting. And because this was actually quite a few days ago now, I've read some of these already before I got a chance to film it. So I'm going to start with the ones that I've already read, and then I'm going to show the ones that I haven't read yet. So first I've got With Malice by Eileen Cook. Now at first, when I read the back of the book, I was curious whether this book was a fictional version of the Amanda Knox story. I've read another book about a holiday that ended in death before, and that one I really thought was definitely at least inspired by that real life event. But with this one I'm not so sure. It was written from the perspective of an 18-year-old girl called Jill, who wakes up in hospital after being in a serious car accident while she was on a school holiday abroad. But when she wakes up, she's got no memory at all of the 6 weeks leading up to the holiday. In fact, when she wakes up, she asks if she'll be better in time to go on the holiday, and then finds out that she's already been, and that's where she was injured. So soon after finding that out, she also discovers that her best friend Simone died in the accident that she was injured in. And then with a little bit more digging, she discovers that people think that she caused the accident and intended to kill her best friend, but she can't remember. And the way she feels is 6 weeks in the past, where, as far as she recalls, there's no issues between her and Simone. Except she slowly begins to find out from reading articles and web pages online that people are saying that they've been fighting each other for most of the holiday, and that they've been fighting over a holiday romance that Jill had no memory of. And then later on she also finds out that it isn't just people online who think she had something to do with it. The police also think that she did it, and they want to force her to go back to Italy to stand trial, even though she has no idea herself whether she's guilty or if the accident really was an accident. So I'm not going to ruin the end of the book, so I'll leave it there. But I did enjoy this one, and I am glad that I picked it up. The next book I picked up was The Amateurs by Sarah Shepherd. This is the same author who wrote The Pretty Little Liars and the Lion Game series. And when I first picked up this book, I thought it was a standalone, but after I reached the end of the book, I found that there is actually another book due to be released in the summer. So maybe this is going to be 2 books or a series, I don't know. This book follows the concept that fans of the other book series will be quite familiar with. It starts with Erin Kelly's last moments with her sister before she disappears. Then it fast forwards 5 years later, and a year after her sister Helena's body was discovered. Erin teams up with a group of people who began following the unsolved case of her sister through a website which is about unsolved crimes. And along with the story, there are twists and turns as the group try to discover who killed Helena and why. As usual, a few plausible but ultimately innocent suspects are thrown into the mix to confuse us. Again, keeping it spoiler-free, I'm only going to say that I didn't see the ending coming, and I'm definitely going to read the next book and find out how the story is going to go on from where it finished off in the first book. And I'm going to add that I took a wild stab at the pronunciation of a couple of character names in this book. So if you've read this book and you're thinking, well, you don't pronounce it like that, that's because I've never heard this name before and I've got no idea how you're meant to say it. Maybe it's an American name, or maybe I've just never heard it before. Next I picked Nerve by Jean Ryan. This book has apparently been made into a major motion picture, although I've never heard of it. But the back of the book sounded interesting, so I thought it's worth a read. And the story starts with a girl called V who begins playing a game called Nerve. Now, you play this game online through a specialised app, and people who want to play get offered very generous prizes and can audition to be considered by filming themselves performing one of a list of suggested dares posted every month, and then uploading video footage to the game creators, who will then put it on their site for viewers to comment on. It's a brand new form of celebrity where you can become instantly famous overnight, or instantly humiliated, hated and vilified. So V uploads one of the dares on spur of the moment, and never intending to go any further than that. But the people who control the game do their homework about the people who enter, and they know exactly what kind of prizes to dangle before her to entice her to perform more challenges. And despite her initial determination not to be sucked in, she ends up being tempted into competing in the live game. Again, no spoilers, but I did enjoy this book, although at the end I did think, and then what? But that's maybe just me. The next book I got was the second book in the new Lemony Snicket sequel, When Did You See Her Last? The back of the book reads, before you look any further into When Did You See Her Last, ask yourself these questions. 1. Has anyone seen the missing girl? 2. Why aren't her parents upset? 3. What do a chemistry experiment, a grocery store, unruly hair and a stone statue have to do with anything? 4. Why are you changing the subject? You're supposed to be thinking about the missing girl. Where is she? So yeah, this is book 2 in a 4-part series, I think it is. And it's very similar in style to all his other books. So if you like those, I think you'll probably like this one too. So next we've got the book that I'm currently reading, and that is The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. I'm about halfway through this book, and I've got to be honest, I'm struggling. I don't want to give up because it is a really short book, so I'm ploughing through it, but I'm not gripped by this, and I'm not sure what it is. Maybe it's because the book is about an invasion by Martians, and that seems, well, ridiculous, but that could just be me talking from a modern day perspective about a book that was first published in 1898, and maybe I'm not being entirely fair, but I'm still struggling to get into this one. Like I said, I'm halfway through, and I can't even remember who the main character is, or if he ever said his name. Maybe it doesn't matter, maybe he never gave his name. I'm not actually sure if it was mentioned and I missed it, or if it was never there. Maybe this is a book where you need to see the movie instead to really appreciate it. I don't know, but I am going to try and finish it. Maybe if I persevere I will get into it eventually, fingers crossed. The next book I got is Web of Darkness by Bally Ray. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, so sorry if I'm not. So the back of the book reads, how many friends do you have online? Do you know who they really are? Lily needs someone to confide in more than ever before as a spate of apparent suicides rocks her school and her group of mates. Benedict, her new online friend, is there for her. Lily finds herself opening up to him, telling him things that she wouldn't tell anybody else. But who is Benedict really? A dark thriller that will have you wondering if there is any way you can hide. So I'm going to guess that Benedict's got something to do with this, but I don't know because I haven't read this one yet, but it did sound quite interesting and I thought I'd give it a read. The next book I got is Trouble is a Friend of Mine by Stephanie Tromley. The back of this book reads, preparing to survive a typical day of being Digby's friend wasn't that different from preparing to survive the apocalypse. When Digby first shows up on her doorstep, Zoe Webster is not impressed. He's rude, he's smart, and he doesn't take no for an answer. Before she knows it, Digby has dragged her into a series of hilarious and dangerous situations, all related to an investigation into the kidnapping of a girl from their high school. A kidnapping that may be connected to the tragic disappearance of Digby's own sister 8 years ago. Peppered with razor-sharp dialogue, this is a romance that is decidedly unromantic, a crime novel where catching the crook isn't the only hook, and a debut novel you won't forget. So yeah, I thought that sounded quite interesting. I'm glad that it's not like a fluffy romance or anything. Don't mind, like I said before, a little bit of romance in the book is fine as long as it's not just about that. And this one did sound quite interesting, so I'm looking forward to reading this one. The next 2 books I borrowed were non-fiction, and the first is The World as I See It by Albert Einstein. Now I'm a big fan of Einstein, so when I spotted this I had to get it. It's only a small book, but he is one of my favourite scientists, so I had to check it out. The back of the book reads, Albert Einstein, one of science's most profound minds, was also unquestionably one of the world's greatest humanitarians. His writings on life and the world around him are masterworks of understanding and compassion, imbued with the sharp accuracy of the scientist, yet highly accessible to the lay reader. The World as I See It, a companion volume to the Einstein Reader, presents dozens of articles, essays, letters and other correspondence written by Einstein between 1922 and 1934. These revealing pieces, not available elsewhere, focus on the human side of Einstein's accomplishments, covering topics such as the meaning of life, good and evil, religion and science, wealth, pacifism, the world economic crisis, Palestine and anti-Semitism. Also included in his letter resigning from the Prussian Academy of Science because of the increasingly oppressive political climate in Germany and the chilling response. Einstein truly believed the mission of science was to serve the well-being of humanity. With modern science seeming to move further and further away from that ideal, Einstein's wisdom encompassed in this remarkable collection is more valuable today than ever before. So yeah, I love Einstein, so I'm sure I'm going to really enjoy this book. And the last book I checked out was The Meaning of It All by Richard Feynman. So obviously I've heard of Richard Feynman, even though I'm never quite sure if his name is meant to be pronounced Feynman or Feynman. But anyway, I've heard of him, but I don't know much about him other than that he was a scientist. But I feel like I should, so when I saw this book, I thought, now's my chance to learn something about this guy. The description on the inside of the book reads, Richard Feynman, I've decided to go with that pronunciation, was a true scientific genius. 10 years after his death, his unique manner of thinking continues to inspire and astonish. At the peak of his career, Feynman gave 3 public lectures on the theme, A Scientist Looks at Society. Left undisturbed among Feynman's papers for decades, the texts of these remarkable lectures just recently came to light. They are published here for the first time. Feynman addresses the questions that most inspired and troubled him. What is science and what is its true value? Can scientific views be reconciled with religious beliefs? Why in this supposedly scientific age is there such widespread fascination with flying saucers, faith healing, astrology and Martian invasion? The irony. How does the media portray the public? What is the value of doubt? With these passionate and entertaining lectures, Feynman set out to show how we could best understand the world we experience. A timely guide for the perplexed. The meaning of it all is a wonderful and profoundly rewarding discovery. So yeah, that sounds exactly my sort of thing. I've no idea why it's taken me this long to pick up one of his books, and his last one at that. I also need to see these lectures, so hopefully they're going to be up on YouTube or somewhere online. But I'm going to read the book first, and then if they're available, I'm going to watch the lectures. So that's it for this Librarian Recommends, Library Haul and Currently Reading. If you made it this far, well done and thank you for watching. Bye!